All right, let's go on to looking at how unionizing as voters is different than being a third party or some of our other options. So imagine you've got 20 voters that are going to decide the outcome of an election. Most of them are going to break up into two different teams. So we got team one and team two, and they're pretty evenly matched. The way that a lot of congressional districts work out, these groupings are lopsided, and we can predict 400 of the 435 congressional races simply based on party affiliation. So this is our scenario. But you've got some voters, some people left over that maybe a couple of them prefer third parties like Greens or Libertarians, or a couple of people who are just frustrated and don't even bother to vote because they have listened for years to candidates make nebulous campaign promises and then get elected and go to Congress and nothing really changes. And so why should they continue to invest their time and effort into trying to elect candidates if nothing is going to change? Likewise with the third party candidates, the two-party system is a practical matter because we elect single member districts. Duverger's law says that we're going to end up with a two-party system because you've got one winner. The most efficient thing is to only have one loser as well. And Americans may say, well, we wish we had more parties, but what they're really saying is we wish that somebody would spend millions and millions of dollars on a losing campaign. And that's not a sustainable way to run a party. Let's imagine this is our voting system. Got all these disgruntled voters who don't like either of the two major parties, but they do want to see the system change. And so unionizing as voters is a way of having these disgruntled voters come together as a union and say, look, we are going to support one of these two parties. We don't have any strong opinions about which one it is, but for the American Union, this is what we want. The blueprint for a better America. End poverty, end mass incarceration, and end the endless wars. And so as a union of voters, this is enough to be the deciders. The Republicans and Democrats really, really like to win. Again, they invest millions and millions of dollars into these congressional races, and they want to get some return on it. And so when there's a block of voters out there that will be the deciders, that will push the needle in one direction or the other, they have to take that seriously. Now, the important thing about unionizing as voters is that it's a commitment to put our votes together, to vote as a block, to be the decider. Some people seem to think that a general strike means withholding our votes. And so going back to this scenario where we have no influence. And that's not the point of a union of voters. A union of voters accepts the responsibility for being the deciders. So when we come together around one set of demands, we vote together in order to maximize our influence. 300, 400 seats in Congress are already predetermined. But that is why the American Union is a national union of voters, because we can have one specific set of legislative demands in all 470 races for Congress across the country, with one easy to understand set of demands: end poverty, end mass incarceration, and end the endless wars. When you stop thinking about the candidates in terms of party affiliation, they really fall into two natural categories. You have the incumbents, could be Republicans or Democrats, and then you have the challengers, likewise, could be Republicans or Democrats. And so unionizing as voters gives us an opportunity to pit incumbents versus challengers. Again, you've got the party in power, the party seeking power, but doing this on an individual district by district basis. Here in North Carolina, we have a U.S. Senate seat that's up for grabs. And I believe the Republican and Democrat are both polling around 43, 44%. And you've got another handful of people that are undecided and another handful of people that are going to vote for the Green or Libertarian Party candidates. But you can tell by where we're at with 44, 40, 43, 44, that you've got 12 or 13% of the voting population that is not happy with the choices that they have, but that they easily have the power to control the outcome, that just a small percentage can flip whether this U.S. Senate seat goes from Republican to Democrat. And we've got a number of congressional races around the country that are like that. And so by having one national block of voters able to influence different races and seats around the country, that's the way that we can get national leverage over Congress, by being able to control the ultimate balance of power after the 2022 election. A union of voters will end up giving their support to one of the candidates from one of the two major parties in the election, enough to be the decider. The question comes up, what happens if neither party wants to meet our term? Is that you still have to be the decider. So whether that's trying to influence the national outcome of the balance of power through deciding that one race, or whether it's done endorsing and electing a candidate based on some random circumstances. The important part is that those votes are on the table, because that's what makes the major parties have to take it seriously. If the only threat is that we're going to walk away, it doesn't have any influence. We can delegitimize the winners by electing them at random or threatening to elect them at random. So if you've got a Democrat and a Republican, neither of which who is real enthusiastic about the idea of ending poverty, ending mass incarceration, and ending the endless wars, the question is one of them is going to get those votes. And so the Democrat and the Republican both have to be afraid that the other one is going to win if they don't accept this offer. So by putting those votes on the table, you ensure that this set of demands has to be taken seriously. Now, when it comes to nonviolent movements delivering political change, studies have found that 3.5% is what it takes. If you look back at the statistics from the 2020 election, you'll find that a 3.5% block of voters could have flipped as many as 8 U.S. Senate seats and as many as 59 House seats. And so a small percentage of voters willing to be the deciders and have oversized influence. For this to work, you got to have a common set of demands. What are our common demands? If you remember, preamble is the mission statement for the United States. And the Blueprint for a Better America uses those 5 duties as the framework: ending poverty, ending mass incarceration, and ending the endless wars.